Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Manish Shresth from Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today, we are going to talk on module Guidelines to Effective Business Writing from the paper Business Communication. First, have a look on learning objectives. First objective is to understand the relevance of written communication in business organizations. Second is to get familiar with do's and don'ts of effective writing. A written communication is a creative activity that requires a sincere effort on the part of the communicator. A written message is considered as a well-thought communication wherein the communicator takes the reasonable time to encode a message before sending it to the receiver. Also, a written communication rarely generates an immediate response. The reason for this can be attributed to the time taken by the receiver in carefully understanding the message and drafting a sincere reply. Overall, a written communication requires lesser interaction between the sender and the receiver as compared to face-to-face communication. In today's world, usage of written communication is imperative for any business organization. The importance of written communication is due to its several advantages for an organization. The greatest advantage written communication offers is that it provides records and references. All the written communication can be saved and stored. Such stored communication can be used for further referencing and decision making. It helps in providing clarity and avoiding confusion while communicating. Written records can be used as evidence in case of a lawsuit against organization. Written communication also helps its members of an organization in providing instructions and directions without any ambiguity. As it removes ambiguity in the communication, all the employees get clear understanding about their roles and responsibilities. Such understanding can further be used as a benchmark for measuring their performance. As a general practice, written communication is considered as more formal and reliable as compared to other modes of communication. It is now clear that why written communication is still one of the most preferred modes of communication among business organizations. Although written communication has many advantages, still it suffers from certain problems. Effectiveness of written communication totally depends upon the writing skills of the people responsible for communicating. In many of the organizations, it still consumes a lot of paper, creating a space and handling issues. As a written communication, it can be saved and stored. Keeping its secrecy is a daunting task for today's managers. Written communication consumes a lot of man hours that can be used for more productive works. Even for writing a small message, all the steps of writing such as pre-writing, writing and revising have to be performed. Although technology has enabled faster written communication, still getting an immediate clarification or feedback is challenging. Considering the pros and cons of written communication, it is evident that effectiveness of written communication is dependent upon the skill of its handler. Nowadays, organizations prefer those employees who can express effectively both in written and oral form. Keeping in view the indispensable nature of written communication, one has to understand the basics of effective business writing. Stages of writing. According to the demand of the situation, various kinds of business messages are written at an organization. Such written communication could be in the form of a business letter, memorandum, notice, office order, proposal, report, etc. Each form has its own purpose to execute. Irrespective of its form, all the business messages are created by following certain steps. These are known as stages of writing process. A written message can broadly divided into three stages, namely pre-writing, writing, and revising. Let's try to understand what is pre-writing stage. As the name suggests, this stage is prior to you start with writing a message. Before starting to write a message, it is important to understand the purpose for which you are writing and how you are intending to send the developed message. Generally, the purpose of a message is to inform the receiver or convince the reader to act in a desired manner. Also, check the extent of receiver's involvement in the communication. So, it is very important to know about the receiver. Whether the receiver of your message is an individual or a group, a supervisor or subordinate, inside the organization or outside the organization, critical or less important. A clear understanding about the receiver of the message highly influences the way a message has to be written. It is also important to understand that your message must be created in a way that it fulfills its objectives and considers the receiver expectation. Writing stage. Once the receiver has considered all the issues related with identification of purpose of message and interest of receiver, it is time to write a message. For writing a message, first you have to collect all the information required to draft. This information could be collected through various secondary resources present in the form of reports, public documents, news items, etc. First-hand information could be collected through discussions and surveys. Information such collected could further be grouped together on the basis of similarity. It helps in making the message specific and crisp. The organization of information also helps in creating the central idea of the message. Then, the time is to begin writing your message. The first draft might be looking rough and imperfect, but it is important to start like this only. A rough draft helps you as a base to further improve on it. Improvement can be done by rearranging the matter, using appropriate words, structuring the sentences and paragraphs, and adding supportive contents like pictures or graphs. At the end of this message, your message almost takes its final shape. Third component is revising. Once the writing part is done, it is important to read the message thoroughly. This step is also known as proofreading. After first proofreading, if you find any discrepancies in your message, edit them. After editing, again it is time for a second proofreading to further check any spelling mistake or grammatical error in the message. After all these steps, finally, you have to check whether the message is serving its purpose and keeps the interest of the receiver. Then your message is ready. Now let's have a look on various guidelines for effective writing. First is adapt. For writing effectively, you have to change your message using adaptation strategy. Adaptation concept says that a message should be developed by keeping the interests of the receiver in mind. We have to understand receiver in context of the organization they belong, the position they are holding, and the individual characteristics. Every receiver has a different level of knowledge and understanding that eventually affects the interpretation of the message. For effective writing, it is suggested to choose appropriate tone and words in such a way that matches the understanding level of the receiver. For example, in case of writing to a person who is unaware of the issue, it is better to elaborate the background of the issue in the message. While communicating to a person having less technical knowledge, always try to simplify the scenario and use simple, non-technical words in your message. On the contrary, while addressing a message for a technical person, exact terminology can be used to make your point clear. The challenge of drafting an appropriate message increases if your intended readers are a group of persons. Adjusting to everyone's requirement in a single message is difficult. The suggestion here is to incorporate the viewpoint of broader groups of readers, and all readers must feel that there is something in the message that they can understand. The second guideline is related to appropriate word selection. For actually adapting your message as per the reader's expectation, it is important to select and use appropriate words. Again, the principle to be followed is of simplicity. In general, we tend to use difficult words while creating a message. This happens because of our familiarity with the issue. If we write a level below our level, it would be definitely become simpler. While choosing the words, it is very important to keep in mind the field of experience of readers. Try to identify the words that are simple and familiar to the readers. One suggestion is to use those words that are being used during conversation. A writer has to understand that the purpose of writing is to communicate the message effectively rather than impressing the reader through heavy vocabulary. Also, take care that there is no need to simplify the word every time. If there is a need to use a difficult word, do not hesitate to use it. Always concentrate on words while writing as opposed to abstract words. Use concrete words. Concrete words provide a better clarity. On the other hand, abstract words create a vague picture in mind. Abstract words convey broader meaning while concrete words communicate exact meaning. For example, instead of writing, "Profits are rising significantly," it is better to write, "Profits are rising by 50%. Do not write many words in a sentence if those words could be replaced by a single word or few words. Do remember that such words should not compromise on the meaning. For example, instead of writing, "The new manager is having a capability to come to such conclusions that are important to handle the situation," it is better to write, "The new manager is a quick decision maker." Always advisable to economize on usage of words to make your communication crisp. More the number of words you are using in a sentence, more are the chances of misinterpretation. Always be careful while using technical words in your communication. Specific technical words are generally related to a particular profession. So, people belonging to that profession can only understand the meaning of those words. In case of communicating to readers outside your professional arena, it is suggested to either avoid technical words or provide their meaning. For example, Choice of words for written communication between two aircraft technicians must be different for similar communication with a non-technical person. Also, communication is more effective when it is done in active voice. Usage of passive voice decreases the strength of a statement. Although there is nothing wrong in using passive voice, but its overuse makes the communication uninteresting. Let's consider few examples of proper word selection. For unfamiliar words like the conclusion established from a scrutiny of applicable data is that a money spinning market is present for the product. We can use the familiar words like the data studied confirm that the product is in good demand. Unfamiliar words endeavor, utilize, demonstrate can be replaced by familiar words try, use, and show. Abstract words like substantial increase in sale of products during last year could be replaced by concrete words an increase of 30% in sales of product X and Y in the year 2014 and 15. Abstract word the minnows can be replaced by a concrete word bottom 1% or the weakest. Passive voice the decision is supported by all the department heads can be done in active voice all the departmental heads support the decision. Similarly, passive voice a new committee was appointed by the top management to investigate the issue could be replaced with an active voice top management appointed a new committee to investigate the issue. Long words such as during the preceding year could be replaced with the shorter words last year. Similarly, incontestable evidence could be replaced with the word proof. Usage of jargons like the responsibility of a person from managerial cadre involved in pedagogical pursuits is to impart knowledge to subordinates sent to him for instruction could be easily replaced without jargon. The manager's job is to instruct subordinates. Use conversational style. In order to write effectively and to establish connect with the reader, a conversational style of writing should be used. As the name suggests, conversational style is that matches conversation. It is considered as the most natural way of writing. It helps in generating a good impression. As the conversational language is natural, it is easy to understood by the readers. Although it seems that writing in conversational style is easy, but it is not so. You require a deliberate effort to improve on this style of writing. By default, we are in a habit of writing in a formal way. At the time of writing, we tend to choose such words that are dull and heavy. This habit makes the whole written communication complex and uninteresting. For example, a statement like, "Please find enclosed herewith the catalog you inquired about during our last communication." It could be rewritten in a conversational language as, "Enclosed is the catalog you asked about." So making things much simpler. Another area to focus is to avoid cliches in your writing. A cliche is an expression which is technically correct but overused to describe a particular situation. The result of using a cliche is that the writer fails to impress the reader. Reader also perceives that the writer has nothing special to offer through the communication. Such communication is treated as par with any other communication. For example, while writing a cover letter for your job application, if you mention that if selected, I leave no stone unturned, you are actually using a cliche expression. As you are mentioning a similar claim that most of other applicants are citing, you lose a chance to impress the reader. Few more examples of cliches are looking for an early response. This is to inform you that, last but not the least, for any other information, feel free to contact me. Next guideline is you is better than we. While writing, it is important to adopt a you attitude. Writing with a you viewpoint actually connects the reader instantly to the communication. Also, it conveys the feeling that the writer is concerned about the interests of the reader. Generating you attitude doesn't mean that we cannot be used. In fact, there are certain situations where it is imperative to use we and you both. But remember, usage of we should not dominate the purpose of using you. For example, we extend our full support to protect your interests. In this sentence, we is used, but a due respect is given to the word your. Take another example. Instead of writing, we are happy to inform you, it is better to write, you will be happy to know. For developing a skill to write with you attitude, a writer should look at the situation from the reader's point of view. Next guideline is related to grammar and punctuation. While creating written messages, it is pertinent that you should go through the fundamentals of writing the relevant language. It includes the understanding of grammar rules and usage of punctuation. In grammar, a writer should brush up the concept related to the usage of modifiers, coherence, and parallel structuring. Knowledge of punctuation is also important, as a punctuation mark can change the meaning of a sentence. Punctuation forms include period, hyphen, comma, apostrophe, question mark, exclamation, colon, semicolon, ellipsis, and quotation marks. Another guideline is related to sentence structure and length. All the rules should be followed while writing a sentence. A normal sequence writing a sentence is to write a subject first, followed by verb and object. Each of these may be improved by adding adjectives or adverbs. As a rule, adjectives generally precede the subject, object, or complement they qualify. Adverbs may be placed anywhere in the sentence. Placement of an adverb decides what it is modifying. A greater amount of precaution is required at the time of placement of adverbs. For example, only a manager can issue this instruction. A manager can issue this instruction only. A manager can only issue this instruction. Here, the placement of the word only changes the whole meaning of the sentence. Generally, short and simple sentences are having more acceptability as effective writing strategy. As such, there is no limit to number of words used for writing a sentence. On the criteria of complexity of thought and reader's ability to understand, a maximum limit of 35 words in a sentence is desired. While creating a sentence, following points should be kept in mind. Put the words at right places to provide adequate emphasis. Remove redundancy from the sentences. Break the monotony while writing sentences. Always keep a check on the length of a sentence. Next guideline is related to paragraph structure and length. A paragraph is a group of connected sentences with an aim of providing the complete thought. Generally, first sentence provides the basic thought and rest of the sentences give the supporting information. Overall, The sentences in a paragraph can be classified as introducers just to establish focus of topic, developers to support and clarify central thought, modulators to offer seamless transition between sentences, and terminators to conclude the paragraph. As far as length of a paragraph is concerned, it depends upon the thought we wish to convey. Length of a paragraph increases as we move from simple to complex thoughts. As an understanding, longer paragraphs are difficult to read. Also, a reader loses interest of reading by looking at a long paragraph. It is suggested to break the long paragraphs while writing. As a standard, you can break one page of written material into 3 to 4 paragraphs. Short paragraphs also break the monotony of a reader. Importance of paragraph increases while writing long reports. In such cases, the writer is prone to write longer paragraphs to provide the information. Apart from what we have discussed so far, there are few other essential elements for effective writing. These elements are the structural element. Every written message must have three structural elements, namely introduction for comprehending the meaning of the message, body that presents the substance of the content, and conclusion that gives the summary of the message along with powerful expectation from the reader. Another element is clarity of thought. Every writer must have a complete clarity about the thought before writing a message. Any ambiguity in the message may lead to disinterest or misinterpretation. The third element is consistency. All the thoughts mentioned in your message must be consistent to the central idea. Any contradicting statement might affect the credibility of your entire message. Selecting appropriate medium is the final element. The choice of medium also affects its effectiveness. Depending upon urgency, length, prospective reader, you have to choose a correct medium to convey your thoughts in a better manner. Now let's have a revision of what we have discussed so far. A written communication is a creative activity that requires a sincere effort on the part of the communicator. A written message is considered as a well-thought communication wherein the communicator takes responsibility and reasonable time to encode a message before sending it to the receiver. Organizations prefer those employees who can express effectively both in written and oral form. Writing a message can be broadly divided into three stages, namely pre-writing, writing, and revising. For writing effectively, you have to adapt, choose the words wisely, use conversational style of writing, possess a you-viewpoint, brush up your grammar and punctuation, structure sentence, and finally structure your paragraph. Thank you.